Hey, it's Lauren from Trip of a Lifestyle. I just finished a 5-day visit to Washington, D.C., and I didn't pay a single penny for entertainment while I was there, because I only did free stuff. Now, I know what you're thinking. Free doesn't always mean good. But in D.C., they literally made all the best stuff free and staffed it with friendly, knowledgeable people. It's the least they could do with our tax money. Anyway, I'm gonna show you everything I did and teach you a few little-known tricks I learned to get the most out of each stop on your trip to our nation's capital. The first thing you should do when planning a trip to DC is try to request a tour of the White House and the US Capitol. The secret hack here is to book directly through your local congressman's office. You can usually do it on their website. As strange as this sounds, it's one of the only ways to get a tour of the White House, and it's still not always easy to get in. We tried booking 30 days in advance, and we actually got rejected, so Steven and I had to settle for the White House Visitor Center instead. If I'm being honest, it was kind of lame. So learn from our mistake on this one and try to book your White House tour closer to the recommended 90 days in advance for better results. Now, the US Capitol is much easier to get into. You can actually just do a walk-in tour without planning ahead at all. But if you do that, you'll probably end up in a big group with like 50 other people. Since we used the local congressman hack, we were assigned an intern to personally take us, just the two of us, wherever we wanted at our own pace. We even got to sit in on an actual session of the House of Representatives and listen to a Republican and a Democrat yelling at each other about immigration and electric vehicles. They wouldn't let us record it though. Sorry, I know you don't get enough of that on the news already. After the Capitol, we hit up the Library of Congress. It's a really pretty building to walk around, and there's a few interesting museum exhibits inside, including Thomas Jefferson's personal library. But you really shouldn't plan your whole day around this stop. It's cool for like 30 minutes. The National Archives Museum is similar to the Library of Congress, but it's most famous for housing the original US Constitution and Declaration of Independence. Behind bulletproof glass cases, of course. You might think this place would be boring, since it's basically a giant collection of documents, but it definitely added a sense of realness to read accounts from people throughout history in their own handwriting. More than anything else though, the National Archives won major points with me for its awesome volunteers whose storytelling abilities really bring history alive. I got goosebumps. On the downside, a bunch of exhibits were under construction during our visit, so I guess we'll have to come back and see them another time. Now, of all the attractions in Washington, D.C., the Smithsonian Institution is probably the coolest. It has 17 locations in the district, and each one can easily take a couple of hours to really appreciate. So this isn't something you can just check off your list in a single day. A few of the most popular Smithsonian museums require a free timed entry ticket to get in. So if there's one you especially want to visit, make sure you reserve a spot a few days in advance at si.edu. We went to the National Air and Space Museum first, which contains everything from the Wright brothers' first airplane, to NASA memorabilia, to the original Starship Enterprise. While the museum mostly focuses on aviation and the American space program, I was surprised to see a few exhibits on cars, motorcycles, and just about everything that has an engine too. The same goes for the Museum of American History. Americans do love their cars. This branch of the Smithsonian also houses the original Star-Spangled Banner that inspired our national anthem, along with a bunch of other cool stuff. By the way, not everything in the Smithsonian is focused on the USA. The Natural History Museum tells a multi-billion-year story of the solar system, with a deep dive on planet Earth, including dinosaurs, human evolution, and rocks. So many rocks. Pick whichever Smithsonian museums interest you most, and don't feel bad if you can't get to them all. We wanted to check out the National Portrait Gallery, but we got there after closing, so we did our own portrait photo shoot outside, before the cops ran us off. Some of the most famous structures in DC are its monuments and memorials. Most are open 24/7, and my biggest tip for you here is to save them for nighttime. Here's why. First off, they're one of the only things that's open 24/7, so you'll be busy checking out the other stuff during the day. Also, most of the monuments have a really cool lighting setup that can only be seen at night. They legit just look cooler. Aside from that, they're outdoors. If you're visiting in the summer like us, you'll be happy the sun's down when you're bouncing between them all. And lastly, the crowds thin out a little more at night. Just don't expect any miracles here. DC is busy pretty much all the time. By the way, there are certain things you are going to have to pay for while you're here, but everything I just mentioned is free to visit, which is why our nation's capital is a certified, frugal-friendly destination. Hit the like and subscribe buttons on this video and check out our blog at tripofaLifestyle.com for more money-saving travel tips. See ya out there!
If you like this kind of stuff, don't forget to subscribe or follow along on your favorite social media platform.